Thank, thank you. Thank you because I know how difficult is it for backend developers to heard about front-end stuff, so thanks to be here. But I want to start my talk by saying thanks. Thanks because I think we all having a great time and this conference is well organized, so thanks to the people that make it happen. Thanks. And I'm more familiar with the Symfony ecosystem, but I also want to say thanks to Laravel people. Oh. Yeah, I want to say thanks to Laravel people because even if you are sometimes too much opinionated in so many things and you try to remove final keyword in your vendor directory, I like you. Yeah, I like you because you have been an amazing source of inspiration for many recent innovation in Symfony. But this is actually a bit more than that because today we got three big frameworks: Symfony, Laravel, and Ruby's on Rails. So for those that don't know, Ruby's on Rails is a framework quite like Symfony and Laravel, but right in Ruby. And so those three frameworks are doing something crazy for us because they're a back-end framework and they start doing front-end stuff. They start writing JavaScript. But we don't want to do JavaScript, right? We hate JavaScript. But the question is, why do we hate JavaScript so much? Maybe because this is one new framework every day, and so because there are so many frameworks and there are no proper convention, and because there are no proper convention, dealing with JavaScript code is dealing with shitty legacy code. Maybe because it's really frustrating for us. Because like in Symfony, let's take an example. We want to do a form. We have already everything working. We just have to do bin console, make form, and we got everything we need. It's take just 2 seconds. In React, if they want to do the same thing, it's gonna take weeks, and it's gonna maybe be buggy. So yeah, a lot of frustration. So what do we do as backend developer when we see JavaScript code? Yeah, we run away. We run away. But we're actually a bit more clever than that. Because what we did is we built API. So we can hide ourselves behind API. So when a front-end developers came to us, we just have to say, hey, you have your API, your endpoint, don't talk to me, talk to the API. That was an easy fix, right? But the question is it a good fix? And I think I don't believe in it anymore. And that for many reasons. Because now we got two applications, one for the back, one for the front. We got two stack. We actually duplicate everything. We have two teams. It's harder to communicate. And so we had more cost and more everything. And I think we can't keep it that way. And this is why Symfony Laravel came to rescue us. So the idea is not to build a third framework between Symfony and Laravel. So Symfony has Symfony UX, Laravel has their own components. But I feel like Symfony and Laravel try to follow the same philosophical path. So you're gonna see through this talk that the answer and the interface are pretty similar. But I want to say something. I was quite joking to get your attention. I actually like JavaScript, but I like JavaScript when we use it for the right reasons. And what is actually the good reason to use JavaScript is to use JavaScript for what it was made for. And for what JavaScript was made for, it was made for user interaction. A user is clicking here, okay, I trigger this action. A user is clicking here, scrolling here, okay, I log this, I open this, and it's all JavaScript is about. No crazy stuff like virtual DOM or something. And this is for the specific reason that Symfony gives you an integration with Stimulus. So Stimulus is a really lightweight library that don't have big ambition. The idea is not to create virtual DOM or some crazy stuff like that. No, the idea is to look at portion of your DOM and to react to user events. Exactly what we want. And so, how does it work? So, in this slide, you got 99% of what you need to know about stimulus. This is not much more than that. So let's get started. So here you can see we have an attribute called data controller with the value hello. And so what this means for stimulus is, hey stimulus, this div contains some stuff really important for me. I want you to report me everything happened into this div. And so stimulus gonna look into your JavaScript file, gonna find this hello controller.js file, and gonna report everything you know about this div in this controller. And then if we look into the JavaScript, we have this static target name output. So what it means for stimulus is, hey stimulus, there's somewhere on my HTML a tag with a name and an output. And I want to have an easy access to them. I want to be able to access it easily, to add value, add events to it. And so Stimulus is gonna look into your controller, into your HTML, and you're gonna find this data hello target name. And then it's gonna create for you variables called name target. And so just like that, you get an easy access to the inputs you see above. And so you can do whatever you want with these inputs. Add value, add events, access a value, whatever you want. And then if we look back into the HTML, we got this attribute called data action. And with click, hello, and greet. And so what is meant to Stimulus is when a user click on these buttons, I want you to call the function greet into my hello controller. And we actually have this function greet. And this function greet just output some text to the spam here. So, so time for example. So we just build that. This is what we did. So it's may not impressive yet, but this is because I think the best way to use Stimulus is to use it in a component architecture. And what actually a component architecture is, it's about 4 principles: composition, independence, props, and state. So let's dig into it with an example. So we have this page right here. So the first one, composition. So the idea is to not see this page like a page, but like multiple components put together to be a page. Like we can have a planet list component, we can have a voyage list component, a header component, and for example, this voyage list component can be multiple voyage components. And so the idea is to go as small as you could to find like smaller reusable pieces of page. Then we have independence. So the idea of independence is you want your component to not be aware of the page is into. You should be able to take one component to another page and everything should work. You should not have to do some extra work, okay? So the component should not be aware of the page. It's really important. And then we have states and props. So a props is Here we have 3 buttons. They have color and label different. And so we're not gonna do one component for each of these variations. So we can have a props called color and label. And so we just have to give these props, and the component gonna keep it all its life long. But sometimes you want your button to be on, like you click on it, to be on a disabled state, and then on a loading state, and so on. And for that we have state. And so a state is quite like a props, but able to change during the life of our components. But the question is now, can we do that in Symfony? And the answer is yes. So we're gonna start simple, and we're gonna start by implementing this button right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a components directory, and we're gonna add a template into it called button html.twig. And so we're gonna give it a props color. So what is mean? It's mean if you want to use this component, you have to give it a color. Then we have like basic twig syntax like you used to have. And so just like that, you create for the first time a component. You don't need anything more. And so how to use this component? You have a special syntax for it. Just you use twig double dot button, so the name of your component is the name of your template. You give it a props, and just like that, you have your button. And how does it work in Laravel? It's actually really, really similar. So they give a props color, they have blade syntax, and the syntax is a bit different, but like it's not twig, it's a X. Why not? And yeah, so, but we want more. We are backend developers. We like complexity. And so here we have a voyage list. And all of these voyage are stored in a database. And how can we build a component without the need of an API that asks our database? So what we're gonna start to do is to create a class called voyage list, and we're gonna give it a special attribute called asTwigComponent. And this attribute right here means to Symfony, hey, this class is a component. But it's actually a bit more than that, because this is not just a component, this is also a services. And because this is a services, you can also access other services. And so here we, with the auto wiring, we get the voyage repository. And so we have a function called getVoyage that just fetch all the, that just do a find all. And so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna create in our components directory a voyage list template. So you see the template name is gonna match the class name. And then we're just gonna loop over voyage, and for each voyage create render anonymous components that just render the voyage. And just like that, we create our first component that use our database to render a voyage list. And how to use it? Like the anonymous one. You have the special syntax, twig double dot, your component name, and everything is working. Nothing more to do. How does it work in Laravel? Pretty much the same stuff. They don't have attributes, they extend things because they love extending things. And we have this function render for the mapping of the view. But yeah, it's pretty much similar. I like to see actually those two frameworks working together on something. But we want more because we're getting to have a lot of voyage, and so we want to add paginations. And it maybe sounds scary because if we need pagination, we maybe need JavaScript. And what if I tell you you can add pagination to your component without the need of writing any line of JavaScript? What you're gonna do is you're gonna change the attribute as3component by asLiveComponent. We're gonna have a new a new property to our class called pageIndex, and we're gonna add this attribute called liveProps. And what this means to Stimulus is this property right here is able to change during the life of our component. And if this property changes during the life of the component, I want you to re-render the component. And so we add the function next that increments the page index, and we add this attribute right here, live action. And what this attribute means is, hey, somewhere in the HTML, a user can click somewhere and trigger this action. Okay? So it's like you give access to user into your front end to this action. And so in the template, we need to change a few things. We're just gonna add a div with an attribute sync. So I really want you to keep in mind this attribute sync. It's really important for what's followed. And we're gonna add a button, and we're gonna add an attribute data action, live action, data action name next. And what this means is if a user is clicking on this button, you call the function name on the class. And so just like that, demo time. So just like that, we create the button next right here. And so we have the following thing. And you actually didn't write any line of JavaScript, it's just working. How does it work in Laravel? It's pretty similar. It's just by default, Laravel doesn't have a distinction between live components and normal components, so it's just basically the same thing as before. And yeah, they have a shortcut syntax, so they don't have to write long attributes as we do in Symfony, but I'm gonna explain the reason later. So yeah, just we're gonna take a little break because you have learned a lot of stuff, and I want to talk about something important for me because I came here with a surprise. Yeah. So as you may guess, when you start using component architecture, you're gonna start to have a lot of components with different variation, as we see with our button, like with different color and everything. And you may have like components that are different if you are in desktop, in mobile, or anything. And so you want a way to easily document your component, to show your component, to actually maybe develop in isolation your component, to test your component. And so this is why I give you an integration with Storybook. So we built an integration with Storybook. I don't know if you heard about what Storybook is, but basically the idea is you can build something like that where you can show your component is in isolation, and you can test it. Like, if I want to change the color, I have something here. And so my team can see how all the components are working and everything. It's pretty cool. So like here I can change the label, and it's working with JavaScript. Like, if you have JavaScript in it, it just works. And you can show your live component and everything. So yeah, so I did that with one of my friends, so thanks to him, that was a huge work to work on this integration for Symfony. So yeah, big thanks to him, he worked a lot on it. And so, back to work. So, do you remember I asked you to keep in mind this attribute thing, right? And so, what attribute is behind the hood? It's like stimulus attribute. So here you have here is the attribute, but I show what's it inside. And so we have a data controller live. And as you may guess, a live component is nothing more than a stimulus controller. And so how does it work? So you're clicking on this action right here. And so stimulus gonna notice it, and it's gonna ask your Symfony application, hey, a user is clicking on this action. And so the Symfony application takes the information, he finds the action related to it in your PHP class, he executes the function, re-render your component, and give back to stimulus the new version of your component. So now stimulus have two versions of your component, the old one and the new one. And here, something really important gonna happen called morphism. So morphism is a really important concept. And so the idea is, so now stimulus have the old version of your component and the new one. And if you just like put in trash the old version and replace it by the new one, you lost everything like a browser event. Like if a user was, I don't know, if a user was writing something in an input, if you just put to trash the input, you lost everything the user was writing, and you don't want to do that. So morphism is about be clever. It's about not replacing completely the HTML by another, but to find what is similar, what is different, and to happen the change accordingly to what we want. So yeah, this is a bit complex, but you can after this talk look into it. It's really important. And yeah, so live components is one of many examples of what the community bring. So you have a lot of things to try. Like you have an autocomplete that gives you an autocomplete input that gets the information from your database. You don't have any JavaScript code to write. You have a char.js component, a drop zone, toggle password, and you have a React component. And yeah, because you can actually use React and Stimulus together. You don't have to choose. Like for example, you have a simple page with a huge table with a lot of drag and drop and things moving on, and you have a perfect React library that does the job perfectly. And so you don't have, you just have to write a stimulus controller that actually render the React into the place we want, into a specific div. And just like that, you can have React in a specific place at your page, and all the rest of the page, you can keep it simple. And one of the main reasons we was using JavaScript is we was using React is because we have this single page application feeling. And actually you don't need any more like React or some other JavaScript framework. Now we have something called Turbo, and I think I'm gonna show you. So what Turbo does is, if I'm clicking here, so you see we are in different page, but everything is smooth, everything is, yeah, like we are in React, but we're not. And so how does it work? So what Turbo do is it's gonna look into all the page events. Like here, Turbo gonna notice I'm clicking on this link, and it's just gonna stop it, do the call via Ajax, and so get the result and do some morphism. It's again morphism. And you actually, Turbo is also listening to your browser event, so, and all your browsers are, yeah, this is cool. Okay, so now we start to have not a lot of JavaScript, but some JavaScript. And we start to have CSS files, assets file, like, I don't know, images or anything you want. And you may ask yourself, how do I build all of that? Should I use Vite? Should I use Webpack? But before answering that, I want us to start something really difficult, something I'm really struggling with. It's an Erlang process. Because like web standard change a lot. So now we, like a lot of things like we think we know, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript change a lot, and so a lot of things we used to have in our projects are maybe not useful anymore. And if we start by style, so we was using a lot Sass. Do we still need Sass? For what reason we was using Sass? For nested, for variables, calculation, mixing. What if I tell you all of these 4 reasons are now natively possible in CSS? So what do you need Sass anymore? Do you still need TypeScript? As you see with this talk, we're gonna use JavaScript for really simple tasks. Look into user event and react to it. So do you need a strong typing system for it? I'm not sure about that. And I'm actually not the only one to think like that, because the creator of Ruby's on Rails dropped the support of TypeScript on Turbo. Do you still need compilation? What I mean by compilation is to, you know, we used to have all our JavaScript and CSS into one big file. So do we still need that? Yeah, we were scared about this big waterfall of file. So here is a screenshot from the Symfony UX website. And yeah, I don't think it's a matter. Like, performance are great. And so how does it possible? Can we get this metrics with this big waterfall? And so since we have HTTP2 and HTTP3 in one single HTTP connection, we can make multiple work requests. And so this is even faster for browser to have small file to render than just two big files. So you don't need to care anymore about compilation. Can we still use modern JavaScript? What I mean by modern JavaScript is the ability to import one file into another, to be able to import a file from a library and everything. And yeah, now browser made a big innovation for us called importmap. And so you don't have anything to do. Just what you're gonna do is to write a JSON file that describe where your assets are located. And the browser gonna be clever enough to understand, import this JavaScript file. Okay, I see this in the import map, and everything is working without any compilation. And the best of that is we actually now have a Symfony component that generates the import map for you. So this component is asset mapper, and for example, you want to import Bootstrap into your JavaScript file. You just have to do PHP bin console import map require Bootstrap. So asset mapper gonna add this line to your import map. You don't have anything to do, and you can just import Bootstrap. And yeah, just like that, you have modern JavaScript. And so now, do you need Webpack of it? I don't think so. Like we just go through all the reasons we was using Webpack, and we see there are no reason to use it anymore. So I think just stay as close as possible to web standard, and everything should be fine, and everything should be easy, and you have a stack understandable for your team. So this is why in Symfony we talk about the last stack. So that stands for live component, asset mapper, stimulus, and twig. And so yeah, just keep to this stack, and everything should be fine for you. So this is the end of my talk. Thank you for listening. So my name is Mathéo Daninos. You can find me on Twitter, on GitHub. And yeah, enjoy. You have, I think, a lot of new things to learn. There are a lot of other components. And if you want to contribute to Symfony UX, there are a lot of things happening there. So you can pin me or go to the UX channel or anything. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mathéo. I'm a massive TypeScript fanboy, so that cut deep to hear. Don't use TypeScript, but you're absolutely right. For very simple use cases, to just use plain JavaScript, it works absolutely fine. So yeah, very, very well received. Any questions from the floor? We have two, so let's go for the first one here.
Hey, yeah, first of all, thanks very much. Great talk. Is it possible to make a Symfony form as a live component and handle all the validation and maybe put a capture in there and have it merge the HTML back after a form submission with all the validation in place? So it almost appears as if the form submission is happening over Ajax with the response coming back.
Yeah, so because form can be really complex to handle with, actually it's always complex to deal with form. You have a bundle made by the Symfony cast team that handle everything for you. Okay. I don't know if it's answer for your question.
No, that's cool. I'll check it out. Do you know what the bundle is? If not, I'll search it up.
Don't remember, but look into the Symfony cast repository and you
Yeah,
can
I'll check
find
it
it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cheers, thank you. Another one? Thank you.
Hi, I didn't see any like access control in the component stuff. Is it possible to use like is granted attributes and deny access like you can in a controller? Or how do you stop unauthenticated people from seeing the content?
Yeah, actually, a live controller is behind the hood. A live component is actually behind the hood a Symfony controller. So you can use anything you can use in a Symfony controller in the live component.
Thank you. Any more questions? From the right-hand side of the room, maybe? No, thank you. All right, so have a massive hand for Matthew. Thank you very much.
Thank you.